What happened in the last 19 months is a huge blow to an already crumbling building. And the building, in this case, is international law. What is worrying in a way, that obvious, natural human reaction to that inhumanity is not affecting the political, cultural, and media elites of the West. This gap will get wider and wider, and no lobbying in the world will be able to stop it. You can call it implosion from within, that could very easily lead to a civil war. But that's within the Jewish society. We have a lot of rulers in the Arab world. We don't have many leaders. To build something that is far more connected to the past, to the heritage of the place, and is not trying to reflect a European state model that was imposed by the colonialist powers. If the Israeli army needs 1,000 soldiers and 100 armored vehicles to capture few Palestinian teenagers, this is not an invincible army.
Welcome, everyone. Today, we're diving deep into historian Ilan Pappe's analysis of Zionism and its current impacts on the Israel-Palestine conflict. Through exploring Pappe's insights, we'll understand the historical shifts within Zionism, its ultimate objectives, and potential future outcomes. First, let's distinguish between what Pappe calls Old Zionism and Neo Zionism. According to Pappe, Neo Zionism is a more aggressive and extreme iteration of earlier Zionist ideology. While traditional Zionism aimed gradually at establishing a Jewish state, Neo Zionism pushes for rapid territorial expansion and displacement of. According to Pappe, Neo Zionism is a more aggressive and extreme iteration of earlier Zionist ideology. While traditional Zionism aimed gradually at establishing a Jewish state, Neo Zionism pushes for rapid territorial expansion and displacement of Palestinians far beyond previous extents. The ultimate goal of Neo Zionism, Pappe asserts, is total control over all of historical Palestine. This involves the systematic removal of as many Palestinians as possible, aiming to build an expansive Israeli empire. Pappe stresses this goal is pursued relentlessly, disregarding international condemnation or legal constraints. Why does Pappe express particular concern over a potential second presidency of Donald Trump? He believes Trump's previous policies and associations, especially with figures like Elon Musk, have emboldened extremist elements within Israel. This partnership, Pappe argues, not only exacerbates tensions but also
كان أملنا الوحيد هي زيارة دونالد ترامب إلى الشرق الأوسط أن تبدي حلولا وأن تبدي نوعا ما فتح المعابر وادخال المساعدات الإنسانية بأسرع وقت ممكن إلى قطاع غزة، لكنها الزيارة على قرب الانتهاء ولم تدخل أي قطرة ماء إلى قطاع غزة ولم تدخل أي رغيف من العيش إلى قطاع غزة. المعاناة التي نمر بها اليوم لم تمر بها كل العالم العربي والشعوب العربية. لماذا خذلونا الشعوب؟
America's global standing, thereby indirectly destabilizing Israel further. When considering effective international intervention in the Middle East, Pappe is clear. Intervention must come from the global South rather than traditional Western powers. He argues that the global North's colonial legacy undermines its credibility as an honest mediator. The global South, free from this tainted historical involvement, can approach mediation with more legitimacy and fairness. Addressing the recent ceasefire negotiations in Gaza, Pappe is cautiously pessimistic. He suggests that while ceasefires might temporarily mitigate violence, the underlying issues remain unresolved. He refers to the situation bluntly as an ongoing genocide, indicating profound skepticism regarding lasting peace unless deeper structural changes occur. Interestingly, Pappe identifies the current phase of the conflict as the beginning of a decolonization process. Historically, settler colonial projects ultimately face resistance and unravel. He believes we are witnessing the early stages of this phenomenon within the Israel-Palestine conflict, as global awareness and condemnation of Israel's actions grow. However, sustaining Israel's aggressive actions are several global factors. Pappe points to rising populism in Western politics, particularly exemplified by leaders like Trump, the pervasive influence of multinational corporations, the resurgence of right-wing ideologies in Europe, and corruption in certain Arab states. Collectively, these elements create an environment that shields Israel from significant international repercussions. Yet, despite global sympathy towards Palestinian struggles, Pappe identifies two major shortcomings within the alliance advocating for Palestinian rights. First, there's the lack of proper organization to channel the widespread goodwill and activism effectively. Secondly, he notes the alliance's purist approach, which prevents necessary compromises and broader coalition building, limiting political effectiveness. Historically, Pappe highlights a troubling relationship between certain anti-Semitic groups and Zionists in Europe. He describes this as an unholy alliance. Both groups ironically shared a common goal of moving Jews out of Europe into Palestine, albeit for starkly different reasons. This complicated historical dynamic underscores the paradoxical and often uncomfortable foundations of Zionist history. A striking observation Pappe makes concerns the lack of dissent among young Israelis regarding Palestinian suffering. He attributes this primarily to Israel's highly indoctrinated educational system, which he argues cultivates a deeply ingrained racism and prevents empathy for Palestinians. This indoctrination severely limits the potential for significant internal protest against Israeli policies. To summarize, Ilan Pappe sees the current moment as critical. Zionism, particularly its Neo Zionist form, is entering what he believes could be its final phase. Historical parallels with other colonial enterprises suggest that such aggressive projects eventually face global opposition and internal contradictions leading to their collapse. For meaningful progress, Pappe advocates international intervention, spearheaded by nations in the global south. He also emphasizes the need for global solidarity movements to organize effectively, set aside ideological purity, and build broader coalitions to challenge injustice more robustly. Ultimately, Pappe's insights challenge us to rethink conventional narratives, recognize underlying historical dynamics, and consider innovative paths toward genuine peace and justice in Palestine and Israel. Thank you for joining this deep dive into Ilan Pappe's critical perspectives. Please like, share, and subscribe for more thoughtful analyses and engaging discussions.